Hello, welcome to the Safety Moment with the Safety Chick. My name is Ugochi Bijegu and I'm known as the Safety Chick because of my work in raising safety consciousness. In this podcast series, we bring you interviews with amazing safety professionals, sharing valuable insights in different aspects of safety as it concerns you, your life, and your work. This is Safety Moment with the Safety Chick, intentionally grooming a safety conscious generation. Enjoy. Welcome everyone. Welcome to another edition of Safety Moments with the Safety Chick. And today we have another amazing person with us, and she's going to be speaking on fire safety for children. So I'm just going to allow her to introduce herself. Please welcome with me Krystle Hodge from SafetyKay.
Yes, so I am Krystle Hodge, the owner and the founder of SafetyKay LLC. And I help to reduce injuries and fatalities among children by teaching them critical safety skills. So that's kind of what my company is based around. It's just helping, bringing safety awareness to children, whether that's to schools, parents, everywhere, you name it, whatever we can do to help children not get injured, have those critical safety skills, which helps for, improving performance and empowering them to make the right choices.
Awesome. I love it. And I love it because it's just what I believe, it's what I believe. And so when I found you, I was so happy that, there's someone out there that is also speaking to the children and providing them with information. By the way, guys, she has an amazing YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and check for SafetyKay. And you're going to see very short instructional videos that your children can watch and get the gist of how to stay safe in different situations. And so we're going to talk more about that, but I just needed you to know that you can just check that, write it out now, SafetyKay on YouTube. And that's one of the things you're going to do after listening to this session. So welcome once again. And we want to speak about the importance of fire safety for children. I know that it might seem like, everybody already knows that, right? But we still have cases of deaths occurring, serious injury occurring due to fire. Could you share with us why is it important for children to know how to be safe from fires?
Like you said, we want to make sure that we're proactive because there's a large number of fatalities that occur, worldwide due to fire-related accidents. And I believe, in most of the cases, we think it's not going to happen to us. It's not, and if it does, I'm going to be there to protect my child, but we see that there are accidents or fatalities happening annually, still at alarming rates. So we just want to make sure that it's important that we're prepared, that we're protected, and that we have knowledge on how to prevent this from happening.
Okay, awesome. So in your experience trying to share this information with children, what have you seen as the major challenge, either in terms of the children themselves or even in trying to pass on this information to parents? What has been the challenge of preaching the message of fire safety to children?
I think the biggest challenge is that we're just not passing on the knowledge to children. Again, as parents, sometimes there's an assumption that I'll be there to protect them and it won't happen. So children are lacking, knowledge of what to do if there is a fire. I know even me growing up, we didn't sit down and talk about a fire escape plan, I think only 26% of families actually have developed and practiced a home fire escape plan for their children. And that's not a large number. And so, if parents, whether you're a parent, a daycare owner, a teacher, if you were to ask a child, okay, if there's a fire in your house, what do you do? In a lot of cases, children will hide underneath the bed, and that's a big no-no, or they'll hide in a closet because they're trying to run from the fire. But, the biggest thing we want to teach kids is to get out the house. And although we assume our kids will know that, in a lot of cases, they don't. So I think it's just kind of bridging the gap. We have the information, but it's actually sitting down with the children and talking to them about that.
Awesome. So now, if we wanted to make this very simple, so well, we have parents listening to us right now, and they're saying, "Okay, I hear you on this. We need to have fire safety education for our children. What are the major things they should be teaching their children to do or not to do, and what are the things they should begin to put in place in their homes?"
Yes, so there's about 10 tips that I can give, parents today, whether you're a parent, a daycare owner, a teacher, about speaking to children about fire safety. So for one, I would say speak to children about smoke detectors. Why are they installed? How do they work? What the most important thing, the sound they make, so that children can learn to associate the sound of a smoke detector with the fire. I also recommend doing this for carbon monoxide detectors too. And I say, remember to change your batteries regularly, twice a year. The fire department recommends changing the smoke detectors every time, you have to put your clocks forward and backwards for daylight savings time. It's just a way to remember doing it twice a year. So that's one tip. Also, having a fire escape plan. If there's a fire in your house, does your child know what to do? There should be 2 ways to leave the house, whether that's through a door or a window. So you want to kind of practice this with your child and making sure they know how can they actually get out the house. Also have a designated meeting spot outside the house. If there's a fire, the biggest thing you want to teach the kids is, there's a phrase like, don't hide, go outside, right? Because again, children will hide underneath the beds, in the closets, when really they need to get out of the house, get away from the house, don't go back in, leave the house, get help. So that's another point. The third point would be using escape ladders if necessary. And that just depends on the type of house you have. You have a 2-story or the designer structure. You want to practice escaping from the ladders with your children. And also a 4th tip is to practice opening the windows with your kids. So you want to make sure that they're not stuck closed, especially for bedroom windows, if they need to be open in the event that there's a fire. A 5th tip would be to teach children how to touch the door and check for heat. So have a towel and teach the children how to touch, the doors to see if it's hot. Okay, don't go through that door because most likely there's a fire nearby. They need to find another way of escaping out, whether that's another door or a window. Also, a good practice, tip number 6, is to use your hands, not your eyes. Like if there's a fire, there's a lot of smoke and you want children to get low to the ground, do different exercises with the children. Have them, blindfold them, have them close their eyes. They'll really be into that. And have them touch their way through the dark to their designated escape, their designated area, the meetup spot, or, the door to escape out of. 7, which many of us have heard, stop, drop, and roll. So teaching children to do this if their clothes are on fire. Okay, so if they know there's fire in the house and their clothes are on fire, they need to get out the house. But if they're actually on, their clothes are on fire, we want to make sure that they know how to stop, drop, and roll. So doing that exercise with them. There have been many fire-related injuries that could have been avoided if, children did this versus running with fire on their clothes. So again, sharing that with them is very important. Tip number 8, again, they want to get out the house. That's priority, and not go back in. Sometimes, children may want to go in to get a pet, help another family member in, have a very precious item, but really they need to know to, exit the house and to stay out of the house or the building until help arrives. And then tip number 9, practicing calling 911. Like once they're out of the house, they need to call for help or get help. Also, teach children your names. Some kids are very young and they know you as mommy or daddy, and sometimes they don't know your full name, and it happens. So make sure they know your name and your address. And the last tip is I would practice this at least monthly or quarterly, if not twice a year. This can happen in schools, childcare centers, homes. Just practice fire drills so children know what to do so they can be prepared and stay prepared. And this goes for all families, you know, it's just, again, making sure they know what to do and there are no assumptions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was so
You're
brilliant.
welcome.
And I really loved
Yes.
it because you reinforce some of the things that we've been doing in our Train Them Young initiative when we visit schools. One of the questions I will ask the children is, what do you do if there is a fire in your house? And you know, some of them say, oh, we're going to hide, you know, and we like, no, you don't have to hide inside the house. Your
Yes.
focus is to go out of the house as much as possible. So yes, that's so important. And then you also talked about having 2 exit points in each room, right? Of out of the house. And I know that we in our part of the world, we have burglary proof on our windows and sometimes even on doors. So this is me saying out there to everyone listening that if you have burglary proof because for security reasons you have that, you must also begin to think, what is the alternative? How can I ensure that in the midst of an emergency, when there is a fire, there is an escape route for everybody in that house? Because if the burglary proof is there and your other exit is stuck, then it's a problem. But if you think ahead and you come up with plans, it makes it easier, you know, for you to make the right choice. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Then another thing you said I really want to highlight is the use of hands and not our eyes. Because again, in a fire situation, you have to go down low and then you need to feel correctly. You know, you're not using the front of your palm, you're using the back, you know. So thank you for mentioning. Again, this one made me smile when you said the children should know their parents' names and not just only your daddy. And I smiled because just yesterday on Instagram, I saw a post where someone said his children and his wife call him babe because the wife, his wife calls him babe. So all the children also call their daddy babe. So when you have your children calling you mommy, daddy, or the pet name used as spouses, they might not necessarily get to know your name. And so let's not take that for granted and teach them our name so that they can act. So thank you. And then of course, practice.
No, and I mean, it's a great point.
Yes, practice is so critical because the more children practice these things, it's easier for them to spring to action when they find themselves in a real emergency situation. Okay.
Exactly.
So when you were mentioning, you talked about the frequency of having fire drills in the home. What would you say is a frequency for a school? What would you say is a frequency from the home front? And what would you say a frequency for a place of worship? Because I find that we have in our part of the world, in Africa, we have a lot of people who are so religious. So when we get to these religious spaces, there are child centers in these religious spaces. Yes. And then again, many times when something comes from the religious stages, people take it more seriously, you know. So so what is a frequency you would recommend for fire safety drills within the home, in the school, and also in the places of worship that have children's centers?
Yes. So I would say at the minimum, at least twice a year. Right. So twice a year, I know depending on companies, they may do it annually. For the home, you know, I mentioned monthly is better, but if it's more realistic to do it quarterly, so every 3 months or at the minimum twice a year. You know, you just want to make sure you're on a page. The more often, the better, right? Because when you do stuff repetitively, you become an expert in it. You don't forget. Things may change, right? So in the home, or, you know, you just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So I would say I would definitely do it more than one time a year, just in case, you know, you get rusty with things. So at least twice a year, but the more the better. And again, it's a good family exercise and you can kind of see who has questions or, if the children have any questions, and it's just coming together for a safety purpose, which is great, you know. And you want to teach them, again, I believe like Safety Chick, starting at the foundation, right? Which is with kids, teaching them early so that you can start setting up good, healthy, proper safety behaviors now, and it goes with them into adulthood. And I think that's what's so important. So if the children see their parents or their guardians doing it, they kind of say, okay, well, growing up, safety was a priority. I'm going to continue to teach that. And, you're just building very strong individuals with great safety foundation. And typically, when you feel like, and I think the important thing is when a child feels like they come from a healthy environment, those children tend to be, and studies will show, they tend to be more confident and they have higher performance. Exactly. So I think it all goes hand in hand. So that's why, again, it's kind of twofold in creating a safe environment and also teaching it. So it's only positives that can come from it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, are there other things you'd like to add on this subject of fire safety for children?
Yeah, so even when I mention carbon monoxide, I think it's also goes hand in hand, right? Because there are homes, we might have fire smoke detectors, but the carbon monoxide is very dangerous and it's very fatal too. It is an odorless, colorless gas that can kill you and do it quickly. And so it is found in fumes, produced anytime you burn fuel in cars, trucks, stoves, grills, fireplaces, furnaces, and it kind of builds up outdoors, and it can be very fatal to people and to animals. And so having those detectors in your house too, is important. And you can get those at your local stores. I know here in the United States, you have your Walmarts or your Lowe's that carry these, your Home Depot that carry these, and they're pretty price reasonable here. And so, add that also into your house. That's another form of protection because you never know. And so I would add that with fire safety. But fire safety in general, they're teaching it at the schools. So I definitely believe it should also be done at the homes, Yes. It's pretty important.
Awesome. Yes, I also love the part that you mentioned how it's important to have these drills as a family. It creates that experience because, it's something that I've been talking about to parents on the importance of having what I call family safety meetings, which is not really meetings per se, but, it's just that opportunity for families to bond, have an exercise, learn a thing or two, and then, of course, still have fun in the process of sharing safety knowledge. All right, so I know that the people who have listened to this session, they probably would love to contact you because they like what you have shared. And again, because I've mentioned the educational videos you have on your YouTube channel.
Yes.
So what is the best way for people to get in touch, people who would like to contact you?
Yeah, so you can contact me directly at SafetyKay, and K is spelled K-A-Y. So it's SafetyKay715@gmail.com. You can also follow me at SafetyKay on Instagram. And I also have a new Facebook and LinkedIn page. And you can just look up SafetyKay LLC. And as Safety Chick mentioned, I do have a YouTube channel. It's SafetyKay Tips for Kids. And I have, a good amount of videos, short videos on there, because I understand children nowadays have very short attention spans. And so there's short videos over different safety topics. So I have emergency safety, there is fire safety, there's classroom, home safety, pool safety, Halloween safety, you name it. And so it's a great way to keep kids engaged. It's also current and up to date. It's convenient. And so again, you just want to keep preaching these messages because, it's a bigger picture here. If you start building that safety culture in certain parts and areas of a child's life, it just kind of transcends. And the reason why I kind of got into focusing on children, and I probably should have mentioned this in the beginning, is I actually work. I've worked in corporate safety. I've worked with different companies. So whether construction, manufacturing, you name it. So I work with adults, and I see quite a bit of incidents. And so in my experience, I find that incidents happen among employees. Like, accidents happen and they're going to happen, but typically the employees that have that strong foundation, who make it a priority, they tend to have less incidents, and in me going and speaking to different, classrooms at different schools and asking questions to children, I just saw kind of like, they know the basic things like, oh, okay, I get in the car and I put on a seatbelt, or don't run across the street. So, they know those important things. But when you go deeper, if you just ask your child right now, if you go home and say, okay, if there's a fire and you can go out the front door, how would you escape? Or who do you call? Or what is a smoke detector? You will kind of see, what child knows what. And some children, even down to, depending on the age, right? If you have an older child, they can use a fire extinguisher. I wouldn't recommend it for the little babies, yes. But yeah, you can see, fire extinguishers, get them for every home. I will also add that that's important to have one. Make sure it's not expired. So that's important. But again, you can kind of see where there may be a gap in knowledge, or there's an opportunity to learn more. So I just believe in teaching where you can and spreading the message. So
yeah, this has been such an amazing session. SafetyKay, thank you so much for breaking it down in simple forms and, giving practical tips that if our parents implemented right away, it's going to protect our children. And please, everyone listening here, go and subscribe to SafetyKay on YouTube and begin to share those videos. Because remember, one of the things we always emphasize here is, as you learn something, try to share it within your sphere of influence. Because the truth is, SafetyKay may not be able to speak with you, but if you can share what you have heard from her to those within your circle of influence, you're also helping. And this is going to help us to reduce the number of avoidable accidents affecting our children. And, like she mentioned, when we build them up with the right attitudes, it goes a really long way so that they grow into adults who make conscious, safe choices. So thank you so much. This has been an enlightening episode. And we hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you. And thank you so much for having me. And I really appreciate, you and others like you who create platforms for putting this information and this knowledge out, because so many people, don't know, and what you don't know can hurt you. So again, I just thank you again for creating platforms like this to share these important safety messages that save lives, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you, SafetyKay. It was nice having this conversation with you. And thank you so much to all our viewers. We hope you listen to other episodes. Okay, so bye for now. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening in on this episode of Safety Moments with the Safety Chick. I hope it's been a good one for you. Feel free to leave a review, and if you'd love to get information on when the next episode drops, join our Telegram channel at t.me/thesafetychick. Chick without a K, just CHIC. So t.me/thesafetychick.